Hey everyone, and welcome to the March Exchange SA chat. We're looking forward to a really exciting chat tonight. After our minor technical difficulties, we're ready. If you're on Twitter, please make sure to use the hashtag XChangeSA. If you have any questions or if you just want to keep up with the conversation there. I'm Brooke McIntosh, and I'm your host, and I am the Student Assembly Director of Communications, and I'm joined tonight by APTA CEO Michael Bowers and Student Assembly President Fred Gilbert. Thank you both so much for joining us. But first, I want to give each of you a chance to introduce yourselves before we get started. So, Mr. Bowers, we'll start with you.
Good evening, guys. I'm Michael Bowers. I am the CEO of APTA. I just completed 1 year of service with the organization. I'm very excited. It's been a great year, very busy. I spent time prior as the Executive Director of the American Association for Marriage and Family Therapy. I have a mental health background, not a physical therapy background. I was a different kind of therapist early in my career, but that's me, and here we are.
Awesome. And Fred, just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a third-year DPT student at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm currently out on rotations, which is exciting, and I got a lot of exciting stuff going on through the Student Assembly as well.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you both so much again. So our first topic for the night is going to be about the vision statement, which we all know the vision statement is so great, and it's completely tweetable. And being that this is a tweet chat and a Google Hangout, I just think that's awesome. That's the way it was first explained to me when the new vision statement came out, was that it was tweetable. So the vision statement is transforming society by optimizing movement to improve the human experience. And if you just take a second to soak that in, that's pretty great, right? So, Mr. Bowers, I want to know, what was your initial impression of the vision statement?
You know, it's one of the things that attracted me to the job. I like people who dream big. I think it's important to be able to dream big, and that's a big one. We're basically talking about world changing here, and I spent a long time prior in my life trying to do that by helping people have primary good relationships and attachments. And I think doing it now by helping change the world through mobility, giving people health is important. I loved it when I heard it.
Awesome. What about you, Fred? What did you think when you first heard the new vision statement?
I thought it's a lot, and I like that it's something that can't be accomplished in a day or a year or a month. It's something that I'll have to continuously strive for as a student and a professional, which I get, obviously is the point of a vision statement. If you could get it in a year, then what good is it doing you? But it's exciting, and it's something that we can kind of hang our hats on as professionals and say, day in, day out, this is why we are doing it. And so it's nice. It's nice to have a little bit of direction.
Awesome, guys. I completely agree with that. So next, what do we think that the vision statement means for the association as well as the profession?
For the association?
Yes, sir.
It means we have to measure everything we do by the impact we're making, not just by how hard we're working. We want to look and see what difference it makes for whom, and make sure that the resources we're spending, the energy we're spending, is actually going to move the needle.
Beautifully said. So then, Fred, this switches to you. Where do we see students fitting into that? Mr. Bowers, you can jump in as well. What are we doing well, and what can we do better as PT and PT students and as a student assembly to better serve and live the vision statement ourselves?
Well, just as far as being the ones to champion the vision statement, I think that's really where PT and PTA students really serve, because it is newly adopted. It is a really big vision statement. It's something that we can hang our hats on for the entire, our entire careers. Students, we don't have to bite off the entire vision statement and try and tackle it this year, next year, or one down the road. There's a lot of different pieces to it. And so finding one that is your passion and kind of championing that, whether that's helping other PTs and PT students, PTA students around you start to brand themselves, or if you're very into advocacy, maybe looking into the PT Day on Capitol Hill. There's a lot of that going on right now, and you'll see a lot of that from our accounts coming out soon. So I don't know, just students finding pieces of the vision statement that they really think that they can champion and going out and doing that.
I completely agree. Mr. Bowers, do you have anything to add to that?
You know, I think it's important to pick one thing, pick something, and do it. You know, a 1,000-mile journey begins with a single step. I think as students, you want to look and see what it is that you are interested in, what that you love to do, what kind of difference can it make, and ask yourself the question. I believe that we change the world one step at a time, but we also then want to look and see how can I scale what I'm doing. So, and scaling can happen both by making it big in the moment and by making a deeper impact over time. The metaphor I use is boats. I'm a scuba diver. What can I say? You know, there are ocean liners that don't go so fast, but they cut a lot deeper wake than a speedboat. So we want to know whether we're going to go fast and try to be big and cover the whole territory, or go slower and spend a lifetime doing something really well. And I think folks can add value either way.
Excellent. I love that. So next, someone asks you what living the vision statement means. What is your elevator pitch? You're going from the first floor to 20th floor. You don't have very long. So how do you explain to them in your elevator pitch what living the vision is?
For me, it's seeing the world through the eyes of mobility and how you can make the world different in that time, in that place. It's that simple.
Fred, can you follow that up?
I don't really know that I can. You know, I guess, you know, going back a little bit to what he said, the very first thing when he said his initial impression, you know, it's our goal and it's our passion and it's where we are experts, and that's, you know, mobility, and everybody uses it. Obviously, everybody uses it, everybody needs it, and we are the champion, and we're the ones that will be able to push that forward and you know, transform society with the skills that we have. And that's just kind of our guiding statement. It's our flag to follow.
I completely agree. So one more question kind of on the vision statement, and I'm going to pop on Twitter and see if anyone has any questions there. So you're both in leadership roles. So how does the vision drive or impact your day-to-day duties or just your roles as a whole?
You can take this one, or I'll take it first.
I got a stutter, so I didn't hear all the question. I got a stutter in my bandwidth here.
Okay, so I'll ask it one more time. I said you're both in leadership roles. So how does the vision impact your roles or your daily duties?
Fred, you start. I've got an answer. You start.
Oh, that's just put me on the spot now. I don't know how I feel about this. So, I mean, obviously, within my world, you know, my role within my board is to make everything possible for them to be able to change the student experience. And so if I take that, I need to be able to transform myself and do the very best that I can in order to serve my board that is serving the students, that is serving society. And so, you know, I say it over and over again, but it's what guides me along every day. You know, I need to be able to start within, push it to everyone that I work with and everyone that I represent. And so, you know, it's helped me get through a lot of struggles, because there's a lot of times where we're all very, very busy, and, you know, students and professionals alike can go with that. But knowing that the end goal is to transform society, it makes it a lot easier to get through it.
Well, my job as the chief executive officer is to execute, to do stuff, right? I mean, that's to make things happen. For me, the vision gives a North Star. We don't have the map of the territory. I work with the board to do that, but it gives it a North Star for everything that we do to try to organize. When I think of my role, I think of my role with the direction I'm given from the board and the strategic plan, is to prioritize, then to sequence. If we get things in the right order, it becomes easier. To align the resources so everything's pointed in the right direction, to deploy them, and then to evaluate how well we did and what happened as a result of what we did. So if you look at the vision as your North Star, it gives you something to prioritize around, to know how to sequence. If you do the right thing first, sometimes the second and third thing become easier, not harder. Align everything. We want it all flowing in the same direction. So those are the things for me that the vision helps organize that part of my work.
That's fantastic. So I'm trying to see if any students have any questions. And guys, if you have any questions, make sure that you're using the hashtag ExchangeSA so that I can ask these gentlemen for you. So guys, I mean, beautifully done for both of you. I couldn't have said it better myself. I'm a huge advocate for the vision statement, and I think we do a really, really good job of living it. So I'm going to move on to some different questions, maybe something a little more fun. So guys, what is the last book that you read? And I know, Mr. Bowers, I know that you like to read. We talked about this at CSM. So what's the last book that you guys have read?
The two kinds of reading that I do mostly are nonfiction sort of business books. You guys know that. And I have a whole long list I can give you. But actually, a book that I finished yesterday on a plane ride on the way home was a biography of Thomas Jefferson by John Meacham. I like reading biographies of leaders. I like learning about what their struggles were, what their challenges were, how they worked them through. And I've just started another, after I finished that one, I started another biography on Teddy Roosevelt by Doris Kearns Goodwin. Now, I can give you a whole lot of the business-oriented books. We can just start a whole book club on that. But those are the two in the last 24 hours that I've been working on.
I'm so down for the book club. I think I need this. All right, Fred. Besides a textbook, what have you read?
I just love that he said in the last 24 hours, those are the two that he's been working on. I don't know how you can do the job that you do and still manage 2 books at one time. I'm probably more impressed by that, but that's a whole other story. My reading goes a little more slowly. Just finished Start With Why. I like to kind of delve out of the realm of business and leadership and therapy for 15 minutes a night, and so reading a book called The Warded Man right now. So it's something that has nothing to do with my life, and it's a great way to kind of decompress all the time.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm ready to start picking up some books here very, very soon. So we have a question from Twitter. This is, I'm sorry if I butcher your name, this is Matt Stoltman. And he asked, what can we do in the future as PTs to engage providers and demonstrate PT value in healthcare for providers and patients?
Great question. I think for me, what I'm interested in with this, since we're talking about a very expansive vision that, is as wide as it can go, is to begin to demonstrate how the work that physical therapists do impacts the overall health status of individuals. It's the impact that we have through enhancing mobility, people's agency and mastery of their bodies and movement, has very profound impacts across the life cycle. We need to create evidence that is not just clinical evidence, but is actually health status and cost-based evidence, and show the impact of that work. The foundation, as you know, just started. Maybe you guys don't know that. The foundation just began a project where it awarded an almost $3 million grant to do health services research that actually tries to it's going to create a cadre of scholars who can deliver that kind of information and that kind of research to the field, because we don't have a lot of it. But if you look at we know in some areas where there's early intervention of physical therapy avoids surgery. I also know from my past life that actually keeping people active and mobile is a legitimate antidote or treatment for depression at times. You want to get people moving, you want to get them out. The mental and emotional status and impact that physical therapy has is not measured very much, but it's real, and there's research about it. So I think PTs have to engage in different conversations. Yes, we want to focus on evidence-based care and evidence-based practice, but we also want to expand that and look at the impact of what PTs do that is not just for the specific interventions, but overall health status. payers will pay attention to that. They see cost offset. They know a good course of PT helps with diabetes, helps with mental and emotional health, it helps to work on the specific problem with which someone might present. There can be a big difference in the way PTs are perceived, and that's what we're after.
Excellent. Fred, are you in agreement?
No, definitely, and I would say, just from my standpoint, the biggest thing that I'd like to see not only students but professionals as well do is just start owning it more. So I think that a lot of times we're a little bit hesitant to say, you know, physical therapy can do this. A lot of the things that you just listed, I mean, there's evidence behind it. It's proven that physical therapy can benefit all of those realms, and a lot of times we're kind of a little bit afraid to sell ourselves. And so I think that something that we can do is advocating for ourselves, and by doing that, patients will see the value that we provide, and they will come use our services, and therefore we're able to serve society better. But if we're afraid to tell people that we can help them and champion ourselves, then you know why would they come to us, and why would they give us the opportunity to change their life if we're not confident to say, you know, we can help you, and here's why. So I would say, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Fred. Well, I think it's showing up. You know, it is not just providers, but it is letting the consumers and the public know. If we only do things we get paid for now, we will never expand our competence and basis for the things that add value that we can be paid for, and demonstrating that value in the future. So there has to be some level of prospecting and learning how to do that and finding the edges. And there are some exemplars already among the membership of APTA, places you can go and learn folks who are doing that. And I would say, as students, look for the folks who are on the edge. Find them, learn from them, ask them if they can be your mentors, and grow there.
Can we just take all of those last words you just said and put them on a plaque and put them on the front doors of every PT school around the country? I think we'd be doing pretty good if we could do that. Excellent. So we're going to switch gears and go back to the vision statement for a second. We have another question from Twitter, and this is Elizabeth at NixDPT. Sorry, Elizabeth. What practically are we working on right now to work towards the vision? And one thing that students can do locally.
Fred, you start. Let me think about the one thing, because I could list about 5, but I have to boil it down for a second.
Oh, man. One thing that students can do locally. You know, honestly, if we're talking about transforming society, finding ways to get out and share what PT can do within your area. So, for instance, I know at UAB that we're a part of a collaborative. Oh man, I'm so sorry. Free clinic. So we work with med students and pharmacy students, and we go and we provide services twice a month, and we're able to kind of spread the word about what we're able to do while also serving society, and especially a group that maybe would not be getting that care. So finding ways to do that locally. Also championing things, like I Can Do It, You Can Do It, which is a program I know that's promoted nationally, but it's something that you can incorporate within your schools, and it's a program designed to teach children with disabilities to take on their physical activity and their nutrition and own it themselves. And that's somewhere that we can absolutely make an impact, and you can do that within your school, within your area, within your state. And I think that definitely embodies the vision.
Okay, I've talked about some big things, but I'm going to get very specific about something that students could do right now. You may not have heard of something called the SGR, the Sustainable Growth Rate, or the Doc Fix, or maybe you've heard that talked about in your classes or around town. But on March 31st, if the Congress doesn't act to address the Sustainable Growth Rate, Medicare payments are going to go down about 20% for every practicing PT. There is a fix on the table that at present both Nancy Pelosi and John Boehner have agreed is a good direction to go that would create a permanent fix for that. You can go on APTA's advocacy site and you can learn how to send messages now to Congress that's going to be dealing with that in the next week. that would be a systemic fix that's been in place for 17 years or so, that we have a chance to make a difference on in the next 10 days. That's something that students could do now. Write your elected representative in the Congress and in the Senate and say, create a permanent fix for the sustainable growth rate, the SGR.
You hear that, students? You can make an impact right now. So you need to look and see who you are constituents for, and you need to be sending out those emails because you can make a difference. So, so then back to the original part of the question, Mr. Bauer. So what are we doing right now as an association to live the vision statement, to promote the living of the vision statement, I guess?
Yeah, the association, the board has focused in 3 different areas to look at the vision statement. The first is, what do we need to do to transform, what actions do we need to take in society that will be transformative? That includes educating consumers, and if you've seen the Move Forward PT website, we basically are making that like WebMD for physical therapy, where consumers can go and get a lot of basic information about challenges and problems that they may face. They can Google lower back pain, or they can Google ACL. They can find our site, and they can learn a lot about that and learn what they need to do to take care of themselves and how physical therapy can benefit them. That's one thing. But there are a lot of other things that we are doing on the public domain. Again, all our advocacy work is around that influencing as well. Second, we're looking at how we transform the profession and what we need to do to get the profession ready to be transformative. There are things that we are working on, like the Physical Therapy Outcomes Registry, that is going to provide a way for physical therapists to demonstrate the value that they receive or that they deliver in their care, and to benchmark themselves against other practices. If I assume that many of you as students have been on the PT Now website and learned the kind of things that are available to you, the resources that are available, so that you can have clinical summaries of what is the best evidence-based care that we know, how we make sure that our members and all PTs are using evidence as a part of their practice. That's one area that we have to focus on. If we're going to be a profession that is transformative, that is based on evidence, we have to show that we have it and that we use it. And then we're looking at the association and what APTA needs to do and to be to help members like you do the work that you can. APTA is an enabling agent. It is not, we don't transform. My work is to create the platform and the resources so that the 93,000 members of APTA can transform society. The action takes place in what you guys do and will be doing for your career. My job is to make sure that the organization enables you to do that. APTA turns 100 in 2021, and we hit our centennial, and it turns 100 years old. What I'm focusing on now is how do we get ready to have a big party, but make sure that what I do in the next 6 years gets APTA ready for the next 100 years. I wanted to serve you well throughout all of your career.
That's so awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it. So you were just talking about the association, the changes happening in the association, and the 100th birthday coming up. So how do you see the association changing in the next 2 to 3 years, and how do you see yourself creating that change?
Part of what I want to do is to help the organization align its resources toward the vision. The APTA had a very concrete vision called Vision 2020 that guided its work for the last 15 years ago. It's not 2020 yet, but when you look at that vision that was established by the House and by the board, many of those objectives were quite measurable. Achieve direct access. Make sure that you could tick those off, and you could say, yes, we did that. Yes, we did that. A transformative vision is different, because how do you know when something is actually transformed? So part of my job now is to help us all have conversations like this so that we know what that is supposed to look like. And then organize ourselves to get to that vision. Here's what is important to me, and this is where I need to be listening more than I'm talking, even though I'm a talking head on this Twitter, on this Hangout, in this chat. Is I need to know what's going to make your lives as PTs better. What is it that we can do to add value to you? And one of my most important jobs in APTA over the next 3 years is to create bigger ears for the organization so that we listen. People can speak with loud voices, but not every PT has a loud voice. And not everyone is going to participate in these kinds of activities. And we need to make sure that we're listening to the folks who may have quieter voices but have different needs than those who have the louder voices and are openly willing to engage. Because I want all of the 26,000 student members of APTA to be members in 3 years, in 5 years, in 7 years, in 10 years. And to do that, we have to know what is going to add value for you and what is going to create the loyalty and draw for you. We have to be better at listening and responding and anticipating the predictive response, not just waiting till somebody has a complaint and then trying to fix it.
Excellent. That's so great to hear. And I think, you're right when saying, that and I think that's something that we try to do as a student assembly too. We try to listen to the quieter voices, or those that have different needs than we do, because as a whole, I'm going to put us into a group, and I'm going to say, we are some of the louder voices. But, and Fred, I know you can speak to this too, that's something that we're actively working on as well, is, listening to those who have different needs than we do.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and really, I think even bigger than that is that we want everyone to know that there are roles within the student assembly, within the APTA, that it's not you don't need to be the CEO, you don't need to be the president of the student assembly to participate and be active within the organization. Our board, in particular, has really taken on an idea of micro-volunteerism, which is something we heard about at the component leadership meeting, and it's finding small opportunities that are non-committal. You come and work for us for a day, and you do something. You participate in in editing a part of the Pulse, or you go and you fill out a survey for us. It's little things that you can do that change the association. Everything's not done in big, broad strokes. And so, we challenge you. We try and put out as many opportunities as we can, and I know this goes student assembly all the way up. But if you're not participating in them, or you're not voicing something that you want, we can't know to change. We can predict as well as we can, but we need your voice and we need your participation, no matter the level that you want to do it. And you can contact us. You can go on the APTA website and you can kind of find your home. I would recommend checking out the Loop. I know that I just made our vice president very, very happy by mentioning that, but it's where we help you find your interests and find your home and find a way to get involved.
Yeah, I think you're right, Fred. Micro-volunteering is going to be so much a part of associations in the future, and we need to learn not only what our members' interests are, so that we can provide those opportunities. We can provide more opportunities if we know what your needs are, because then we can expand the conversation and create other opportunities to meet needs that are emerging that we may not know about. When I interviewed for this job, I told the APTA Board of Directors that the least likely people to know what the average member of APTA was thinking about and needing were the people sitting in the room when I was interviewing, because they're so far into the organization that it's hard to step outside what you know and the water that you've been swimming in for years. So we need to figure out a way to expand those circles, have broad conversations going on, and to connect at whatever level members need or want to connect, but just to make sure that the connection happens.
I completely agree. We've got another question from Twitter, and this is from Jillian Carney, and she asked, how can state chapters integrate the vision statement into their smaller, more intimate settings among their peers?
That's a great question. One of the things that we are just beginning conversations with, just timeline for you guys, the vision statement was adopted in 2013 and in June, and almost at that same time, APTA was essentially at an interim period without a CEO. So the board and a lot of the oxygen in the room was taken up in the search and in trying to get over that transition. And then in 2014, I was learning all the acronyms. And APTA has a lot of acronyms. So, and actually talking a lot with chapter leaders. I spent hours of time on the phone and on the road with chapter leaders. So we have had initial conversations with chapters about what the vision means, but now chapters themselves have begun to have new strategic plans and asking how they can enact the vision and what they can do to make it real, have arms and legs. The pieces that I would suggest are to focus and ask questions, what can I do in my jurisdiction, in my domain? Where are the unmet needs around mobility? And how can I begin to address those? In some, and I don't know that chapters are too big. California is a gigantic state, so is Texas. You almost have to go down to the town, to where you live to ask that question. And the first thing I would say is everybody needs to be talking about it. We need to own the fact that we're transforming, and then look for those small opportunities. I realize that's really general, but I'll pass to Fred for a minute while I try to get more specific.
I was not looking forward to that lob up there.
Yeah.
No, and I would say, obviously, I represent the student perspective here, and just challenging your section or challenging your component, your chapter leadership, and saying, how are the things that you're doing working towards transforming society, and how can I as a student be a part of what you're doing, and always making sure that is your guiding principle, and that you're going to your chapter president and saying, okay, I see that we're doing all these things. Now, how is this championing our cause? And if it lines up, continue, and if not, challenge them to change so that it does. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think one of the hardest things is it is easy to measure activity. It is much harder to define the impact you want to make. And the question that I ask over and over again of myself and in our work on the staff is, what is it we're trying to accomplish by doing this? And whether you're a chapter or whether you're an individual, or any component, I think training yourself to ask the question about what should look different as a result of this action I am taking is one of the best things that we can all do to begin to make that difference.
Excellent. Fred, do you have anything else to add?
Not at the moment.
All right. So we have another question from Twitter, and this comes from Tyler King at Tyler King SPTA, and he asked for you, Mr. Bowers, what brought you to the APTA from your previous job, and what excites you the most about the future of the APTA?
I was the executive director of AAMFT, the American Association for Marriage and Family Therapy, for a long time, 20 years. And when I went there, I set some targets for myself of some differences that I wanted to make. Not unlike the APTA getting direct access in all 50 states. When I set those, I didn't realize it was going to take me 20 years to achieve them, and I don't think APTA thought it was going to take 30 years to achieve direct access, but it did for us to get that in all 50 states. So I achieved that objective and wanted to look for another place to make a difference for people. I believed in my last job, and because of what I had done as a clinician, that if you create primary attachments and relationships for people that are healthy, and you can change everything in their life. when people are connected and their relationships are great, they have so many more possibilities in their lives. And I believe that was scalable and nodal, that was impactful for people. And the other thing that I learned as a part of my work, because I've worked with people who had some physical impairments, is if you give them mastery and agency over their bodies, everything can change for them as well. So I've been privileged and lucky in my life to work in the two areas where I think if you give people primary connections to their life and you enable them to have mastery and agency over their bodies and to maximize their mobility, those are the two things that really are pivotal in making a difference for people. I've always been mission-based. I've always believed in trying to make a difference. I thought I could scale that. And when the job came open at APTA, honestly, I was somewhere else. I was in Mexico in an immersion, Spanish immersion class and doing a lot of scuba diving. One of the headhunters called me and said, "This is a job you need to apply for." And so I did. And because I believed in what this field stands for. The other piece that I will say personally is that in June of 2012, I had my first grandchild, or my daughter had my first grandchild. Maybe that's the right way to put that. But she was born 26 weeks into term. She weighed 1 pound, 10 ounces, and we thought we were going to lose her a couple of times. She did survive. She's been diagnosed with CP. And thankfully, she's mobile. She's walking and even running around. She has some speech problems, but you can tell yet she has some right side impairment. And so I saw physical therapy in action from the time she was out of the box. And so between 2012 and 2013, when this job came open, I was intimately engaged in watching this field and highly motivated, highly skilled, highly compassionate people taking on what I know is going to be a lifelong task for Anna. So that my personal philosophy about mission and trying to make a difference, my belief that mobility matters was brought to life in a little child. I saw that, and it made me that much more excited about the possibility and the honor of serving in this role.
Yeah, and we always push, sharing our personal stories, and even CEOs' personal experiences make a difference. But we are most definitely glad that you came back from Mexico and that you decided to join us here. Next question that we have. Rob Holschulte asked at Rob_Huff, businesses need to know where they are weak and where they are strong to determine identity and to be successful. Where is the APTA strongest and weakest?
I think we are strongest at demonstrating and our value and creating our voice, actually. I think, despite what I hear from folks that we haven't learned how to be assertive or speak on our own behalf, I think APTA really does a great job of that. And honestly, in Washington, D.C., among my peers in the association community, even before I came to APTA, it had a great reputation in that regard as being effective, competent, and present in its advocacy domain. Where I think we have to work is on the retention side of our membership, that we have built a model of activity and a set of benefits and services that serves a certain segment of the PT community overall, but for one reason or another doesn't hold a significant segment of the potential universe and population. And that's where I think expanding the conversations, learning to listen better, learning to understand, figuring out what we need to do differently or new that will add value for others is going to be a big part of my work.
Yes, sir. Well, so Fred, I'm going to flip this on you. What are the strengths and the weaknesses of the Student Assembly?
I would say so. So strengths right now is that we're providing homes for a very, very large number of students, in the sense that we've created a lot of positions that students can be involved, from top level down, meaning just very, very involved, to that micro volunteering that we're talking about. I think something that we don't do well is that we don't do a very good job of encouraging new students, and that's not just first year students, but students that are newly introduced to the student assembly, to just dive in. We're not asking you to commit long term, but we need you to just try and just get a taste of what the APTA is offering. And I think a lot of times we're so scared that we don't have time, because we're all very busy, and that's obviously a thing. But taking a minute and finding ways to encourage students, entice students to dive into the challenge that we have, and that's finding a home within the organization. Because I've drank the Kool-Aid of the APTA, and I'm in love with it, and I think that it's going to make me that much better, and I want to share that with students. So strong, we have a lot of places for people to come and be involved. Weak is that we don't do a good job of getting people to try us out.
Kool-Aid does taste pretty good, doesn't it, Fred? Excellent. I mean, and like Rob said, in his question, I think that it's very, very important that we do realize that, so that we can work to our strengths and, and try to build ourselves up where we are weak. We have another question, and this comes from Cinema at Cinema_Air from Twitter. And he says, what role will physical therapy play within healthcare in 2021?
Great question.
He says, also, fantasize without restraint.
Okay. I will tell you what I would, if I could envision anything, I would see physical therapy being one of the three primary points of entry in healthcare. You were going to, if you asked me, I would say I would like there to be a PA or nurse practitioner, a mental health professional, and a physical therapist being your first point of care for healthcare. And I think so much quality care could be given if we started there, and started with those kinds of interventions and those kinds of assessments and analysis for people and their health status. If we really have a health system as opposed to a procedure or illness system, we have to flip the paradigm and start at that preventive and helping people maximize their health.
Yes, sir. And Fred, from a student perspective, what do you expect to see physical therapy in 2021?
I mean, I would kind of go along the same lines of what he was saying, in the sense that I want the first thing that happens when people think, oh, I'm not getting around as well as I used to, or oh, something has come up, that they say, I want to go see my physical therapist. And I want them to have, my physical therapist. I want them to own that, because I know that a lot of the clinics in my area that people that have done very, very well, and I feel like do very good work that especially lines up with our vision, people own them. I mean, they will go see no one else, and they will go see them first. And so having the profession be just it roll off the tongue of everybody that's having a mobility issue, a movement issue. So I don't know. I mean, I guess lofty would be that, it is first access. So.
And if I'm going to fantasize without restraint, what I will tell you is that by 2021, we will all have the capability to have wearable technology that will signal when we're going to have problems with our mobility before we would ever even be aware of it. I think it's Ralph Lauren or some company now has started creating a T-shirt this year that they're beginning to market that can measure your vitals. We know what is going to be happening with shoes. But by 2021, I predict that you'd be able to slap on things, sensors, 2 or 3 points of your body, that would begin to tell you over a week or a month or a year if your gait was changing, if your range of motion was less, if you were not moving in certain ways that you used to move. And who better than a PT to get that information and to have a checkup, and then to work with you to make sure that you're maintaining and maximizing your mobility over the lifespan.
That's so awesome. I've not heard about that shirt, but I am very, very interested. I'm looking forward to that. And Fred, like where you're saying, you refer to your hairdresser as my hairdresser. It's my massage therapist. It's my MD, etc. We need to get out there, and we need people to be saying that's my physical therapist. I 110% agree with that. So we guys who are tuning in with us, we have about 10 more minutes. If you guys have any questions, use the hashtag ExchangeSA and ask away. If not, I'm going to move on to my own questions.
That's terrifying.
So many students, like myself, around the country are about to graduate. You can only give them one piece of advice. What advice do you give them?
I actually wrote this in a blog, and it was the subject of a speech I gave to the New Jersey Student Conclave. And
I read it, but other people probably didn't. Not yet, anyways.
But it was advice that was given to me many years ago, and it stuck with me. And it was a basic statement that said, "Prepare yourself well. There's plenty of room at the top. It's the bottom that's full." And I think that is really related to asking the question of how good can I be as a professional? By definition, a professional is someone who is not an amateur. A professional is someone who keeps growing, whose skills continue to improve over a lifetime. And consistent with my previous statement about, find people who are working at the edge, who are adding value in new ways, find out how you can learn from them. I would say in 2 or 3 years, you'll be one of those people at the edge, and people will be wanting to learn from you. So prepare yourself well. There's plenty of opportunity. Don't settle for mediocrity, and carry forward.
One can only hope. That's so awesome. That's another plaque we need. I hope someone's writing all of this down right now. So, like I said, we only have a few minutes left. And Fred, I'll start with you just in case another question pops up. But following tonight's discussion, we've hit a bunch of big topics. I mean, our main focus was the vision statement. I think we hit that pretty hard. But we had a bunch of other good topics come up. So, what would you like to leave the students and the others who are joining us tonight with?
I want to leave it with, on the surface, come and speak to us. Reach out to us. Tell us what you want. Tell us where you want to be. Tell us an activity that you love that you want to be a part of. Kind of backtracking a little bit to the question that you just gave Michael Bowers, my one piece of advice to students would be, think about why you got into this profession, and don't be afraid to share that with people. And share it every day, and share it in different ways, and tell how you've accomplished that and how it's changing your life, because patients like to see that you love it, and other clinicians like to see that you love it. And so not being afraid to say, I am a physical therapist, I am a physical therapist assistant, and I'm proud of that, and here's why I did it. And sharing the message, because if people see that, we can accomplish a lot of what we've been mentioning tonight.
That's the theme, people. Sharing.
Sharing is caring.
That's it. And what about you, Mr. Bowers?
Other than what I've already said?
Just leave them, just a one-liner. Just leave them with something.
Looking for another plaque.
Looking for one more plaque. Let's go for 3. Come on.
Okay, well, this is going to be about APTA.
That's perfect.
We can't build and provide for you what we don't know you need. So you have to let us know, and don't be shy. I want to be as accessible and open as I can be. I know everybody on our staff does. So we can't build what we don't know you need. You have to let us know what you need.
Fantastic. And listen, thank you so much. You don't understand how awesome this is for students to be able to sit down and have a conversation with the CEO of their association. You are one of a kind, sir. I really, really appreciate both of you joining us. Thank you for your time. I know you were both busy. And And guys, thank you all out there for joining us tonight. And join us next month for April's Exchange Essay Chat. It's going to be April 21st at 9 p.m. Eastern. Dara Shah, the student PT delegate, and I will be discussing the happenings of the House of Delegates coming in June. So thank you guys so much, and you can watch this later if you want to rewatch it and get some of those quotes and put them on plaques. It's going to be on YouTube, and I'll post links to that again. Thank you both so much. Good night, guys.
Thanks.
Good night.